you've received an unexpected invitation and want to make a garden posy with things that you've got growing in your garden, I'm going to show you how to make it. Summer posy for the person who's given you that lovely invitation. I'm going to tell you about 3 things that you can consider from your garden. 1 is the colour that you look out for, and I always do that when I'm going around mine. 2 are the ingredients that you need to cut, and I'm going to share with you what I look for in that. And finally, I'm going to show you exactly how to make it so that you'll be quite pleased when you give that gift of a posy to whoever has invited you. For your garden posy, I'm sure you have lots of colour choices in your garden, just like I do. But I am drawn to certain colours at certain times of the year, and this is Annabelle hydrangea, and she's always coming out in July, and I love her pinkness. She kind of is a bit of a girly pink, but I adore her, and you can make her feel a little bit more sophisticated in your posy by adding things like this penstemon in a much more saturated tonal colour with your Annabelle. So I tend to, in my garden, grow things that I can cut from in colour palettes. The other ingredient I love is this sedum, also dries, brilliant alkylia, and all of these ingredients. So I'm going to go on to talk about my second point now, the ingredients. You need to think about shape and texture and form so that your bouquet has a mixture of things. So this is what in floristry terms people call transitional, because it has lots of little smaller flowers. These 2 can broadly be described as spikes because they have points, and even though they've got little flowers on the end, they are a spike. This is a flat-faced rose piquete cosmos, but a flat-faced flower, and sometimes you don't need flowers to have certain shapes. So this is Dorcas carota, wild carrot, and for me that globular shape, you need something with a little bit of a globular shape. So that for me says seasonality, because they only start to fold up when midsummer is starting to tip into late summer, so it really kind of points to the season. I've also got some sweet peas, and they smell gorgeous, and it's always worth adding something with scent. And what I have in my garden right now is honeysuckle. Now what I've done, as you can see, for my ingredients, I've stripped off all the leaves, but not before. I've conditioned them super well. You can see that stem is really stiff. So in the morning, when the sun's not baking hot, and believe you me, it's not baking hot up north at the minute, cut straight into water, into the cool, at least 24 hours, when you've got a super clean bucket and angled your stem cut so it gets the maximum amount of water. Now I have talked about colours, I've talked about my ingredients, and I'm now going to show you how to make a posy. And if you want to do something that's posy size, not a huge bouquet size, it's all about where you have your binding point. So I will start with a stiff stem. If you place your binding point down there, your bouquet will be bigger. If you place your binding point further up the stem, it will be smaller. And I'm left-handed, so I hold it in my right hand. You might be the other way around, but this is the start, and it looks like an inauspicious start, let's be honest, but that's a kind of triangle to start your spiral. Then you turn it, and then you add another stem, and you're kind of angling it slightly, and I usually add a couple of stems, and at the beginning it's not looking terribly posy-like, is it? It's not looking like a great posy, that, but you keep turning round and adding in at an angle, and you keep turning round, and you can already start to see the spiral is forming. Go with the direction of your material, because if you fight it, then your material is going to win, not you. And with quirky stems, garden flowers do not have straight stems. So you just need to kind of go with them and love them, and they are what gives you your uniqueness to your bouquet, really. So I'm going to add one of the spikes, then I'm going to turn around, and I'm just going to keep going. So I try not to think too much about what I'm adding. For something that's a very saturated colour, I think more about adding colour rather than shape, because it's the colour that your eye is going to initially see. So I'm going to add that hydrangea, then I'm going to add another carrot. I put things low down and high up, but mainly I'm going at that 45-degree angle, and I'm just placing a couple of things. I'm spiraling always in the same direction, because you do get in a right mess if you kind of like get confused on that one. So keep going in the same direction, and your handedness kind of dictates that a little bit. Sometimes the ingredients don't want to come out of the bucket, do they? So, and you will see I've got a completely clean stem. So that's really important, because you don't want any kind of mess, kind of fluffiness down the bottom, because you will just end up with water that won't be able to keep clean. Your gift won't be able to keep clean. And I think that's the issue with, a lot of people say that garden grown flowers don't last, and I think there's a couple of issues with that. One, I don't think people condition them well enough. The other is that I don't think the stems are stripped below the line, so you get a load of contamination in the water, and then everything goes off, and people think that British flowers don't last very long. So there we go. So I'm just going to keep going and adding, and I do love this Rose Picotet with her very smiley face, and I think that's what we all need at the minute, a really smiley face. And what you can see, because I think she's not going to be a very robust girl, she perhaps needs a little bit of support, so I'm using this stiffer stem of Achillea to actually bolster her up, a bit like a bra. But I'm only whispering that because this is going out. So when I have my little classes, and a lot of it is, I did have one bloke one time when I did my bouquet classes. Yes, I do consider some stems better scaffolding than others. So if I keep adding my ingredients, I'm now going to start to add a few little sweet peas and keep going round. And I largely don't, I let the stems do what they want to do, because there's no point trying to force a stem to go in a direction when it really doesn't want to. And you will see that I'm adding things that people might consider kind of blown. So this is a scabiosa that's lost its petals, but I think it's kind of beautiful because it's a different stage of growth. Yes, of course, the full-blown flower looks absolutely amazing, but I think the seed heads and every stage is just so, so beautiful. So I'm going to carry on, and you can see I'm slightly lowering my material to give me some colour going all the way down the stem, the bouquet I mean, and then I'm adding my Dorcas carota, my scabiosa. This variety is Black Cat. Absolutely love it. We'll definitely grow Black Cat again. I think we all have our little favourites, don't we? And Black Cat is my favourite. But it's very, very dominant colour, so be sparing where you put the Black Cat. And then I'm just going to tuck them because Black Cat is just a really nice pop with the red of the Achillea. So that's my honeysuckle, going in. You can see a very curved stem. I have some heucheras growing. We've got Chelsea Gold Medal winners kind of who are 30 minutes away, and I do love heucheras because they're like fairy bells. They actually dry and they just grow really, really well in shade. I've got a lot of shade in my garden because we have some huge trees here. But you can see the spiral, and I'm just threading the stems. You kind of like almost lay them. And if you've never kind of made a spiral, then you can just kind of do it lengthways like this if you fancy. And that way you can see your stems going like that. And then you can turn it and you can get your stems going at the right angle. I think the really important thing with a spiral is just to keep going, because when you start the spiral, it really doesn't look like it's going to work because it starts off with 3 stems in the middle and nothing else. You can see I'm stripping off the leaves there to make sure that nothing ends up contaminating the water. So I would pull those petals off there and have that head, because I think it's really, really nice to have that piece coming out. Now I have also got some of this bronze fennel, which I absolutely adore, for both the scent and its colour. And I think whenever you're finishing off a bouquet, you want to have something with a little bit of, I'm going to call it froth, so to go on the edge, and it's almost like a collar. When I went to floristry college, a lot of the Dutch designers have kind of like stiff formal collars on the outside of their bouquets, and I've kind of adopted that to use you know, a more loose ingredients to give it a softer edge to the edge of the bouquet. So I use things like bronze fennel to edge the bouquet, and that way you don't have a hard edge. So this is the point at which I'll have a little look at it, and I like the colours. If it's a little bit long, some of the stems, you can give them an initial chop, but leave long rather than short, because you can always take more off, but you can't add more on. And then I think just a few more bits of fennel on the edge, and I think we're almost done with this little posy. It is a posy, you don't want it to be too big. After all, you know, we haven't actually seen each other too many times, so you do want to see each other across the table from this posy. And I think it's lovely to have flowers, give flowers. It's such a gift, scent, and the creative act of making a bouquet for somebody. I've always seen that that's just such a precious thing to give the gift of your art, and it's always really, really appreciated. So that's my posy. I'm going to tie off. And I like to tie off with raffia, she says, reaching in a pocket. Ooh, I forgot this. A little bit of honesty, and I think I love including honesty because it kind of gives a message, and I think all of us have been through lots of things recently, and honesty, there's nothing quite like it, is there? So we're going to include that. And then when the bouquet is done, it's actually an ingredient that people can have to dry so they can remember that evening. So I think it's also nice to include that as well. So I'm raffia is over there. I like to use raffia. It's softer than string. I like to tie it by making sure that it's on the binding point. It's a hoop, and then I thread it through, gentle but firm tie at the end, and then pull like that. and then I go round, and with a little Posy it's not too onerous to do that. And then I cut off, and then I make sure that it goes into water before I take it to a lovely party. And gosh, parties feel like the best thing in the world at the minute, don't they? So I hope you've learned something from this video, and there are other videos about how to make a larger bouquet, how to condition ingredients, and how to dry ingredients too. So thanks so much for watching.